Welcome to this week's Teaching Raid live stream coming to you from Sarlona. These are events that me and my guild, the High Lords of Malkir on Sarlona, have been hosting for 5 years now, where we are teaching new players how to do these raids. Sometimes we get people who are brand new to the game, and sometimes we get longtime veterans that are just new to whatever raid we're doing for that particular week. Every week we do a different raid, or sometimes multiple raids if it makes sense. And in years past, we have worked through every raid in the game twice throughout the winter and spring, and then we shut them down during the summer and fall. But this year, we're not going to be working through every raid twice because, well, we've got a lot more raids, now compared to what we had, 3-4 years ago. So it's just too much to try to fit into that first half of the year. So some of the older raids, like Epic Demon Queen, for example, or Epic Chronoscope, we'll just be doing those once throughout the series. But the newer raids we'll be doing twice. And this week's raid is going to be Heroic and Legendary Hound of Xoriant. And so we're going to be using the Heroic instance of Hound of Xoriant to teach them how the raid works. And then we'll apply that to the Legendary raid. And so we're not trying to make these folks experts at these raids. We're just trying to give them a basic level of competency so that they might feel comfortable joining a pug and have a decent idea of how the raid works. So I'm going to take a few minutes here to invite the folks that are signed up. So if you're watching the live stream, you got time to go grab a drink or whatever before the action gets started. Welcome to the live stream, Jim White. Hey, Chocmo, welcome.
Hello.
Hey, Lionfear, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. So this is the whole crew tonight, guys. Got four of my guildies and myself to make sure that things are smooth. Then we got 3 folks that are here signed up to learn the raid. And I know 2 of you have been to a bunch of these already this year. But Heroic, this is your first time ever attending one of these teaching raids, is that correct? Heroic, do you have sound? This raid's going to be about impossible to teach to somebody who doesn't have sound. Okay, you can hear me okay though. Okay, cool. I'm just making sure. Without sound, it's really hard to teach these raids. Okay, cool. So this is your first time for one of our teaching raid events, right? I'm going to be explaining the whole raid, you know, how it all works. And when it comes to, you know, we're going to be moving through the subterranean to get to the heroic instance of Hound of Xoriant. The Legendary Hound of Xoriant is right out here, but we're going to do the heroic first as the teaching event, as the teaching instance. And along the way, I'm going to be showing you guys how to navigate through the subterranean. So, first off, I want to know, like, who, like, of the three folks that are signed up, Chakma, Lion Fear, and Hurric, have you guys ever done Heroic Hound of Xoriant before? And how familiar with you are you with the subterranean? I also want to know the folks watching the live stream, if you know how these raids work, or if you're new to them, if you're new to the subterranean. Okay, cool. Well, the subterranean's an interesting area. We're going to be way over level, so not really going to be challenging, but I'm going to be showing you how to navigate down there, because there are some unique features to the subterranean, and getting around, and certain things to avoid and stuff. So go ahead and click on, actually I want to make sure, pick up the raid.
Set it out.
I think I already have it. There we go. Go ahead and click on the subterranean, but don't move ahead. Okay, we can go ahead and get a few buffs. So Chakma, you've never been down here before? That is awesome. Well, I'm really happy to have somebody who is totally new to this. That's really cool. Alright, step to the edge out here, but don't fall down yet. Normally when you get out here, you would feather fall down to the right, and then if you were going to either one of the raids, that's just the way you'd go to pretty much anything down here. But what happens so often is that people forget to put their feather fall on, and somebody falls to the bottom, and if they're new, they get lost and start aggroing a bunch of mobs. So I'm going to show you what happens when you fall all the way down first. So just go ahead and jump straight down. All the way down, like you see a circle of runes down there. You can go ahead and just fall on the floor near those somewhere. And there's actually an explorer here, the Bizarre Ritual Site. For the folks watching the live stream, if you guys have questions along the way, please ask. My attention is focused on the folks here in the event, but I'm going to be...
my kobold bow is a fan of this place.
I'm going to be watching the live chat and answering questions when I can. Down here we got some living spells. And there are these portals that can... Oh, first thing I want to show you is, like, if you walk on the runes on the floor, you'll notice that there's like this burst effect that goes off. That's like a debuff effect, an AoE debuff. So you generally want to stay away from runes when you're down here in the subterranean. That means don't walk over them, don't even get near them. Like if you see one on a wall, try to just avoid it completely. And there are lots of runes on the walls here in the subterranean, like this one I'm about to hit. And some of them will open portals to teleport you, and some of them will spawn trash mobs, and some of them have a chance to spawn a rare. Now this one is just a trash mob portal. You can tell because it's like one of those dark shroud portal type portals. And come over here to the west. We'll spawn another portal. Maybe we'll get a rare. So that's a portal that actually teleports you to a different location. We're not going to use that one. We're going to go across the other way. Remember to avoid runes. And there's one more portal over here that we can click to possibly spawn a rare. That one on the other side is always going to be a teleportation portal, and this one will always be trash mobs or a possible rare. If you see any purple bags, like this treasure bag over here in front of the portal, you always want to pick them up in the subterrane because they are always planar shards. And you can trade planar shards to a dude right there in the center of their market for some special rewards. Most significantly, 150 of them can be traded for a large bag of your choice, like a large ingredients bag or collectibles bag. And these ramps here, we're just going to take to get back up. So if you were to come down here and fall, you just take these ramps back up, no big deal. Here's a rune on the wall that you want to avoid. If you get close to it, it does that AoE debuff. No big deal, but you generally want to try to avoid those. So now if you look up, you'll see if you look up into the, let's see, southwest, there's like a hole and a glowing rune up there. That's where we originally fell down from. But we can turn around and head to the east. There are two raids down here. There's Vision of Destruction and Hound of Xoriant. We're just doing Hound of Xoriant. But either one, you'd start by going this way. Thank you, Bantus. Here, you got to kill these two skellies.
Doesn't unlock unless exactly.
And those mobs will respawn, so if you come back through here and the skellies are there again, you will have to kill them again to unlock that switch. Here, notice that there's some light shining through the floor. The light has the same AoE debuff effect that the runes do. So you generally want to stay out of the light, but you can go ahead and walk through it to see what happens. It's not going to kill you. It just might debuff you. So any runes, whether they're floating on the floor, on the walls, any light, regardless of the color of the light, you want to stay out of it too. You can go to the left and grab a collectible over here if you like. And then turn around and go south. Hurik, since this is your first time at a teaching raid event, just want to emphasize that if you have any questions at any part along the way, please ask. Don't hesitate to interrupt if you're lost or something. Or if you want more explanation, you're not sure what's going on, etc. Don't forget to pick up the treasure bags and go ahead and go through this portal. Couple spiders here, treasure bag, and then behind us there's a rune we can hit to see if maybe we can spawn a rare. No rare. Here we're going to jump out and around. But this is another spot where invariably people who are new are going to fall down. And so what I want to do is show you how to get out if you fall. In these teaching raids we like to show you not only what to do, but what not to do or what to do when things go wrong. So just fall down here if you're new. Sometimes people fall down here and panic and don't know how to get out. So we're going to show you. It's just a very small area here. A couple of trash mobs. Go ahead and poke around for a moment. If you can jump up and catch this ledge, that's great. If not, there's a ramp around the other way. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just go to that ramp. And you just take the ramps up. If you start panicking here in the subterranean and start running around and aggroing a bunch of mobs, you can draw a red dungeon alert pretty quickly. So, you know, if you ever get lost, you're not sure where to go, it's best to just let someone know and they can get you, as opposed to aggroing a bunch of stuff. Let's all regather here. We're kind of spread out, so I want to make sure we're all together before we go any further. Okay, cool, we're all together. I just wanted to make sure no one was lost. So if we were going to the other raid down here, which is Vision of Destruction, which we will be doing as part of a teaching raid event in probably a few weeks, you go over to the northeast from here. There's a bridge over here, and you would keep going this way. But we're not going to Vision of Destruction. We're going to Hound of Xoriant, so this is where the two paths split.
Diverge.
I was going to say diverge, reading my mind.
Everybody knows diverge is the word.
So here we're going to have a couple renders, and then there's going to be a beholder to the east. Don't forget to pick up your treasure bag. That was Darkfire I just hit that with for 3708. There's a possible rare here by hitting this rune, so I'm going to go ahead and hit it. Hey, we got a rare. Colonel back to Zooties.
Colonel back to Zooties Country Fried Chicken. I know him.
If you can see when you come around the corner, there's actually a shrine to the north. There's a lot of shrines in the subterranean if you know where to find them, but if you don't know your way around the subterranean, this can be a very confusing place. I'm not doing a whole tour of the subterranean. If you're interested, I do have a video where I do a complete tour of the entire subterranean. There are two different subterraneans. There's an east and a central, and I go over all the locations of all the raids, all the rares, and all the explorers. Here's a treasure bag here. But we are going to take a little bit of a detour to show you sort of an off-the-beaten-path area, which is kind of neat. Here there's going to be a mind flare and a beholder. And now we're going to be leaving the subterranean central and going over to the subterranean east, a separate slayer zone. With separate rares and separate explorers and whole separate map.
So the total kills do carry over.
Oh, good point. Thank you. So down in the subterranean east, there's going to be lots of renders, lots of beholders, lots of Thorac Hounds. Not a lot of value in buffing yourself because of all the beholders. And what we're looking for now is there's going to be two runes somewhere. They're kind of random.
Found one.
And those runes will open up a gateway so that we can continue. And you can, you know, Q and E or backspace around whatever button you use to target non-combat targetables. You can pick up the runes through the wall. So here's one over here where I am, and we got a rare, the Fire Fiend of Madness. And just notice on the wall here there's a rune. I think they're intelligence runes, but they're not very high by today's standards. And we've got a chest here. There's no named loot that drops from any of the chests in the subterranean except for Garamel, the giant skeleton. He's considered a rare, but he's always up, and he has actually lots and lots of named loot that can drop from his chest. We won't be doing that today. We will be doing Garamel, though. If you don't know Garamel and how to get to him, because it's kind of a unique way to get to him, we will be showing how that works during a different teaching raid event when we do VOD. I meant to point out in that last...
That's the Solomodies.
In the last... what did you say, Ina?
I said Death to Solomodies, but
Yep.
not tonight.
We'll be doing an event called Death to Sulamades, where we're going to be doing all three of the raids where Sulamades appears in. This is kind of the theme to that event. So we'll be doing Chronoscope and VOD and Tower of Despair that night. What I meant to point out when we were down below looking for the runes is that if you looked up, you would have seen all these catwalks that we're on now. So right now, we're just above the zone where we just were looking for those runes, where we killed the Fire Fiend of Madness. So if you fall, you just go back around. In fact, if you look to the north right now, you can see the gateway that we went through, and it just circles up and around. I'll open up the map a little bit. If you're watching the live stream and new, if you fell down there, you would just take this path right back up. That's right where we came from. We came out there. Here we're going to be looking for 2 more runes to open up a gateway to continue. And they can be in a whole bunch of different locations. There's a beholder or 2 up here, and some renders maybe. And this part is just kind of a loop. It doesn't matter if we went left or right back there.
Here's one of them.
I'm getting a tell from somebody I think that wants to join. One moment, please. Sorry for the delay. Okay, I've got a person that wants to join us last minute, and they are still learning, so they said they know the way, though. Alright, let me get them in here. Hi, Larinar, you know the way out here? Because we're already in the subterranean east. Okay. Well, just make your way to the to Hound of Xoriant. We're actually going to be doing a little detour into the deep tunnel, so that'll give you time to catch up. Did you guys already find the 2 runes to open the way? Only one, okay. The other one is probably up here. Yes, it is. Okay, so just want to show you guys up this ramp over here to the to the west, where I am now. The 2 runes that we're looking for open that gateway there. And that's the way to Hound of Xoriant, the heroic Hound of Xoriant. But we're going to take a little bit of a detour, because I wanted to show you an off-the-beaten-path area that I think is really neat. And it's an area of the game that even a lot of old-timers have never seen. It's an area that most people don't go to. There's no real reason to go to. There's no named loot. There's some rares, some interesting rares, and there's some explorers. But because there's like no named loot or whatever, most people never go over here. And like I said, I think most people that play this game have never even seen this part of the game. So go ahead and go into the deep tunnels here. And again, it's going to be beholders, Thrackhounds, and renders. In the post I made for this event, I said we were going to swim through a lake of acid to find a council of beholders. Well, this is that lake of acid that we're going to swim through in a moment, once we clear the trash. If you look right under where I am right now, you're going to see a cave opening. Okay, and we're going to swim through that, and when we get to the other side, there's going to be a ramp up. But I don't want you to go all the way up that ramp, because there's going to be a whole room full of beholders that I don't want us to aggro right away, okay? So just swim through the other side onto dry land, and then pause right there for everybody. And lag. This is not a good place to lag while you're swimming through acid. Don't go past where I am, but you can look to the west, and you'll see there's a whole room full of beholders there. There's a possible rare beholder. It's extremely rare, but it doesn't look like he's there now. Yeah, that acid will help you exfoliate. Okay guys, if you're new, go kill some beholders. And this is an explorer, it's the Beholder Council, or something like that. The Eye Tyrant Council is what the explorer is called. And there are two treasure chests and some gold piles here. Even when the rare is not here, you get all this treasure. And if the rare was here, you'd have a third chest. So get your little lock box and strong box. And there's a shrine there. That portal actually leads to another section of the deep tunnels. If you're watching the live stream, that portal, let's see if I can remember. That's where we came in. That's where we are now. And that portal, I believe, takes you right here. Or here, maybe. Somewhere over here. We're not going to go through that portal. We're going to go right back through the Lake of Acid. I'll show you where that portal comes out when we get there. I want to know, if you're watching the live stream, if you've never been over here into the deep tunnels and never seen the Eye Tyrant Council. Like I said, I think most people that play this game have never been over here. It's not on the way to the raids. No named loot. It's just, you know, for fun of exploring the game. Alright, we can go up this ramp.
Hey, so can you throw me a jump? Back out of those. I had perma-stuck acid.
Raider X must be watching the live stream too. John Bud's been there once or twice. First time seeing it for Uli Kumis. And Eric has never been there. Muskie, Elon's never been there. That's awesome, guys. We're going to go to the right. There are 2 more rares. So there's 3 rares in this section. The first is at the Eye Tyrant Council. There can be a rare beholder. The Teeth of Xoriant. And now we're going to go to the south, and there's another possible rare up here around the corner. The Frost Fiend of Madness. Remember, we saw the Fire Fiend of Madness earlier. Well, the Frost Fiend of Madness can be back here by this ice wall. And the rares out here in the subterranean don't have a really good proc rate. You know, like some Slayer zones like the Veil, it seems like rares have about a 50% proc rate, but down here it might be like 25%. So no Frost Fiend. That ice wall might be an Explorer though. I can't remember. Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's see if... Well, it's kind of around the corner, but that portal that we saw in the Beholder Council room comes out like around the corner in an area that we're not going to. But it's just, you know, it's still, you're still here in the deep tunnels. And this is the last rare we're going to check. If you click on this portal and examine it, you'll see it says, "To the Den of the Beasts." So the raid that we're going to do, Hound of Xoriant, the boss is Zizi. She's like this really big Thorak Hound. And this rare in here in the Den of Beasts is Zithzul, the son of Zizi. So it's a little reference to the raid boss that we're going to go see in a minute. And if Zithzul's up, he'll be back here. There's going to be a bunch of Thorak Hounds, regardless. And it looks like no rares today for us. At least not in the deep tunnels. Okay, that is all the deep tunnels. Just wanted to show you guys this off the beaten path area. Oh, it's an Explorer too, the Den of the Beasts or something like that. Or the... Man, I'm not sure which one it is. Go right back through the portal, but we're not going to come out the way we came in. Now we're in the back in the subterranean central, and we're looking at the portal that takes us back to the subterranean east. So go ahead and go through that portal. That room that we appeared in is the one where, you know, there, when we first got there, there was a mind flare and a beholder. Now we have to make our way through the subterranean east again, but it's all clear. It didn't reset. Now we're gonna finish making our way to Hound of Xoriant. I'm gonna open up the map if you're watching the live stream. Here's the part where I said you can look up, and that's where we're going to be going, right above where we are right now. That's where we came in. We came through here. We're winding up this path now. We're going to go over these catwalks, and this is to the deep tunnels, and then this is to Hound of Xoriant, or vice versa. This is to the... It's one of the two. Should be the one on the left to the deep tunnels. So yeah, this, I think this is the deep tunnels. How many monsters are in the party? don't even know what that question means. The drunk vegan. Larinar, I do want you to stay with us, please. Just want to make sure nobody gets lost here. Okay, so this is to the deep tunnels where we just went to, but we're going to go to Hound of Xoriant, which is over here. Oh, I messed it up when I was explaining. Okay, so we came in here. I knew something wasn't right. So we came in here. This is to the deep tunnels. This is to Hound of Xoriant. My apologies. And here is a rare, the Render of Madness. You know, back when the level cap was 20, this content was basically endgame, and these mobs were really, really tough. But by today's standards, you know, you bring your level 30s down here, it's no big deal at all. Get your treasure chest, and yep, the Madness Aperture is right here. Go ahead and click through the mysterious portal. And then there's another zone that we have to clear out. There's 3 rooms here. Each has a beholder and some renders. We have to clear all of this out in order to be able to continue. Watch for treasure bags. When I first started playing the game, when it went free to play in late 2009, I guess I probably didn't start raiding until early 2010 though, but you know, I remember running these when the level cap was 20, and this was tough content. I remember just doing VOD on like normal and failing. There's a treasure bag in each of the directions. And then once you get your treasure bags, if you want them, then go through the portal. And that's going to take us to the entrance of Hound of Xoriant. Please do not go into Hound of Xoriant. You can click on this portal here, which takes us to a very small zone. And if you want to, you can talk to Char Trax there, and he has funny things that he says. Just show the live stream here. So here's where we are now. This is the deep tunnels here. This is that zone that we just cleared. They had the beholders and the renders. And this is where we first entered. This is the subterranean east. So like I said, we came through here. We found the 2 runes, came up through here, and then we were walking in the upper catwalks. We found 2 more runes, which opened the way to Hound of Xoriant here. And then we went through a portal that was here. And that portal took us here. And then when we cleared that out, another portal appeared, and that portal took us here. Okay guys, this is the entrance to Heroic Hound of Xoriant. Heroic Hound of Xoriant is distinct from Legendary Hound of Xoriant, so doing this one is not going to put you on timer for Legendary. So we're going to be using the Heroic instance as the teaching instance, explaining the mechanics of the raid, and then we're going to immediately do the Legendary Hound of Xoriant, which is located in the marketplace. You don't have to run through the subterranean to get to Legendary Hound of Xoriant. The entrance is just right there where we entered the subterranean. So right now I'm going to give you a link. That's cool. I'm going to give you a link to a visual aid. If you don't have the ability to bring up a graphic, that's fine. It's no big deal. I'm going to explain it. But if you do have the ability to bring up a graphic, then this is going to help make things clear. Or you can copy and paste that just by highlighting it with your cursor and hit Control C to copy, and then you just go into your browser and Control V as in Victor to paste. Or you can just go to the Sarlona forum post where I advertised this event, and this is just taking you right there. So whatever is easier, copy and paste that, or just go to the Sarlona forum post where we advertised the Hound of Xoriant teaching raid. And it's just the last post in that. And if you're watching the live stream, there's the image that I'm going to be referring to. Just scroll down to the last post if it doesn't take you immediately to the last post. Alright guys, anybody, hopefully everybody that is able to get the graphic up has that up and is ready to hear how this raid works. So back when I was a newbie learning this, okay, let me know when you're ready, Linebeer. Just wanted to get it up on my screen so I could see that and the live stream and stuff. Okay, so when I was a newbie learning this, I remember one of the raid leaders describing this as the easiest raid you'll ever fail, and I think that that's a really good description, because if things go right, and it's like clockwork when things go right, it just seems like the easiest thing you ever did, and it was effortless, and like, how in the world can anybody ever fail this? But when things go wrong and people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, and this can turn into just a nightmare that can just go on forever. Because this isn't just a beat down a raid boss and when it's dead, you know, it's over. There are unique mechanics to this raid that must be followed, otherwise the raid becomes incompletable. If people are just, you know, screwing off, like I said, and not following instructions or doing things they're not supposed to be doing, you can be in here for an hour. I mean, I remember back in the day this raid going a really long time. Even Legendary today, you know, if it's not done right, then it can just become incompletable or take way too long. If you're in this raid longer than about 10 minutes, something has probably gone wrong. In fact, you can actually do this raid in about 5 minutes. But if you're doing higher difficulties, it might take a little bit longer. But I think we usually, like, in our guild runs, we just do, like, Legendary Hard most of the time. And it's a 5-minute run. So, there are two common methods to do this raid. And they are called the H method or collapse method. That's just two different names for the same method. And then the other method is called the circle method or the O method. Not going to be teaching you either one of those, but I will be showing you like how those work. Once we get in and we finish the raid, I'm going to show you how those work. We're going to be teaching you sort of a house method called the hall tanking method, which is really just a modification of the collapse method or H method. I have heard that some people on other servers use this method, so the High Lord's not the only ones using it, but basically I started using this method one night when we were doing it really short-handed. We were just doing 3 of us in the heroic instance, and we needed to come up with a way to be able to do what needed to be done with just 3 people, and this hall tanking method worked really well. And I haven't found any other information online about this. It's, you know, if you look online for information about how to do Hound of Xoriant, you're typically going to find the hall tank, or the collapse or H method, or you're going to find the circle or O method. So I'm just emphasizing that the method we're going to teach you, the hall tanking method, you might not see it again. But I'm going to be explaining the other methods, and I'm also going to be explaining the advantages and disadvantages of each one. All the different methods are just different ways of mitigating trash. You have to deal with trash mobs and like keep the trash mobs away from the boss and what's going on with the boss. And so all the different methods are just ways of mitigating trash. So if you have the graphic up, you'll see the zone is like a big square or circle with like a cross going through it. It's a very simple zone. It's big though. Much bigger than the graphic might suggest. And when we get in there, it's really important that you don't accidentally shoot or throw anything into the center. We're going to be looking at the raid boss, which is Zizi, and then her 3 puppies. And if you shoot something at her, she's going to aggro on us immediately, and it's really important that, you know, we all get inside, we get buffed up, and all the jobs are assigned, etc. before we start the raid. So Zizi's a big Thorac Hound, and she's the raid boss, and you have to kill her to win. But she cannot be damaged by normal means. The only way to damage her is by charming her puppies and having her puppies attack her. And the way that you charm the puppies is not like with charm monster. It's not by using spells. It's actually a unique mechanic to the raid. There are these Xoriant control stones that will drop from mind flares in the zone. And you pick them up and you put them in your hotbar, and then you target the little puppy, and then you click on it on your hotbar and it will charm the dog. And it's an automatic charm. There is no save for it. And I want to emphasize that there's no save, because some people will tell you, like, don't cast greater heroism on them or something, because that will give them higher saves against the Xoriant charms. But there's no save against this charm. It's just timed. It will always hit. The only way you can fail the charm is if, like, the dog moved and you weren't facing it, and it fails because, you know, you weren't facing it, which really sucks. So a good point there is that if you were the one doing the charming, you don't want to be like right there in the little puppy's face, because if it moves a little bit, then you're going to lose line of sight and fail. And you don't have unlimited charms. You only get like 4 of these control stones to start with, and then you don't get more till later, and sometimes it could be challenging to try to get more because you got to fight for them. You really want those initial 4 control stones to be all you need. But if you're doing higher difficulties, then you might need more than 4. But we're going to be doing Heroic Elite, and then when we do Legendary, we're going to do Legendary Hard. Probably. Maybe normal, since we have a short crew. Yeah, that's a really good point. Ideally, there will be no later in the raid. Like I said, if this raid runs longer than about 5 or 10 minutes, something's going wrong. So what we're going to do is we're going to be splitting up into basically 2 different teams. We're going to have a tank go into the center, and then there's going to be like a left and right team. And the left and right teams will go left and right, and they'll go, you know, east, left, and right, which is east and west, and they'll go all the way into their corresponding north corner. So the left team, the west team, will go into the northwest corner, and the right team, the east team, will go to the northeast corner, and there's going to be a mind flare there. And they're going to kill, you know, you're going to kill the mind flare. That will drop the Xoriant control stone. Never pick up those control stones unless you're the person assigned to do that. What you don't want to have is just random people picking things up in here, and then, you know, when it's time to charm the puppies, everybody's going, who's got the control stones, you know? You don't have time to do that. You really need, like, the people assigned to pick those up, picking them up, and then the people, you know, the person who's assigned to charming doing the charming, you don't want to fiddle around with trying to figure out who's got what. Because the longer this goes on, the more trash mobs you're dealing with, and you could start dealing with some trash mobs that are a lot more difficult. Like, if it goes on too long, you start getting big beholders, and the big beholders are pretty intense. Not gonna be a problem on heroic, but on, you know, you're doing legendary elite or reaper or something like that, you get to the big beholders, you know, that they can be a problem. So the point is, don't pick up Xoriant control stones unless you're the person assigned to it. I'm going to assign everybody jobs. So the left and right teams are going to go to the northeast and northwest corner. You're going to kill the Mind Flare and grab the soul stones, and you're going to turn right back around and go south to the southeast and southwest corners accordingly. And you're going to kill the Mind Flare and grab the soul stone there. You will already have rounded that corner and passed that corner, but that Mind Flare doesn't spawn until after the north one is killed. So you go to the north corner first, kill the Mind Flare, grab the soul stone, turn around, go south, kill the Mind Flare, grab the soul stone. So each side has 2 control stones now. Then you turn around and go back north. The west team, the left team, will then cut into the center where ZZ starts and guard the center of the zone for the rest of the raid. They'll just stand there in the center of the cross, and if any trash comes to them, they'll fight it. They don't pull trash in, though. You'll see trash like running around the outside ring. That inner group just lets the trash go by. If it comes to the center, they'll fight it, but you don't pull it in. And then the other group, the right group or the east group, is going to park themselves at the end of the east hall in the outer ring. It's really, really important. You're not going to be in the east hall. You can be out at the end of the east hall in the outer ring. In front of, there's going to be a portal like the one we see here. You're just going to hang out there, and that's where trash mobs will spawn from. There'll be some that are running around the ring that you'll fight as they come to you, but you're going to guard the end of the east hall. And at this point, the tank will already have ZZ in the middle of the east hall. The east hall is like the longer hall. It's a pretty long hall compared to the others. And so the idea here is that we have ZZ in the middle of the east hall, with a team on each side of her in the tank guarding from trash mobs getting to ZZ. And the reason we don't want trash mobs to get to ZZ is because they can disrupt what's going on. So ZZ and her puppies, her charmed puppies, are going to be fighting each other. Ideally with a tank holding ZZ's aggro so that ZZ is not damaging her puppies. And if trash mob gets to them, the trash mobs can pull the aggro of the puppies off of ZZ. If it's beholders, and there are lots of beholders in this raid, beholders can break the charms because the beholder's anti-magic. So that's absolutely critical, to never let beholders anywhere near those puppies. That's what can really screw up this raid. Remember what I said, you don't have all the charms in the world. You have a limited number of stones. And if a beholder gets in there and breaks all the charms, well, you really just screwed yourself. Now, more Mind Flares will spawn, and you can get more control stones. And if puppies die, more puppies will spawn. And you actually have an unlimited amount of time to do the raid. But because you don't have unlimited resources, you know, the longer you're in there, more trash you're fighting, there are no shrines, you're just going to start running out of resources. And you start to get to those big beholders, you know, you can start getting overwhelmed. So it's really important that things go right the first time. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, it's okay. It's how it goes. I'm going to be talking us through it while we're doing it. But the gist is, you know, each the left and right team, you go to your north corner, turn around, go to your south corner, turn around, and guard your position. The east team guards the end of the east hall, the west team guards the center of the zone. There'll be one person assigned to tank, and one person assigned to charm the puppies, and then on each side you're going to have a person assigned to pick up the control stones. So I'm going to start typing in jobs, and I want you guys, if you have any questions, like I said, I know it's a little overwhelming, but you have to explain this raid ahead of time. So Somebody just sent me a tell saying that they believe the big beholders are red names. I'm not sure about that, but in any event, they are pretty serious. And it might be different for heroic versus legendary, I can't remember.
One other thing I'd mention is I would put pets on passive or even de-summon them for this. You don't want anything risking messing up anything in the middle.
Yeah, that's a good point. Chakma, I would just dismiss your Iron Defender, honestly, because you don't want that, like, aggroing on the puppies or ZZ or something. Thanks for saying that. Oops, I need to add a couple more notes there. Okay, the left team, the west team, is going to be Meister, who's going to grab the stones and do the charming. Turek and Chakma. The east team, who will go right, will be Torin, LPR, who's going to grab the stones, Lion Fear, and Hurrik. And I'll be the tank. So, remember, the Xoriant control stones will drop from the Mind Flayers, and you should not touch those unless you're the person assigned to pick those up. In this case, Meister and LPR. Meister, what I want you to do is we're just going to charm two and two, okay? And I want you to go ahead and charm the two, get them all buffed up, and then once you got them charmed, then go to LPR and get the other two stones, okay? So LPR, Meister will come to you after he charms, okay?
You got it.
Okay, cool. Now I'm gonna need to just about get naked here because I can't have any guards or anything because it's going to kill the dogs. I need to make sure I don't have my crushing wave guard on, and I can't remember where that is. There it is. I gotta make sure I have the aura off. I hope I don't have any other guards. I don't think I do. So here in the heroic instance, I can't emphasize enough that the puppies are going to be really, really squishy because we're so overpowered. So like as a warlock, I have to make sure that I have my aura off, that the tank should have no guards whatsoever because the guards could kill the puppies really easily. I can't even click on the portal.
I think it's lagging.
Yeah, something's happening. We are going to do elite. Remember, when you get in, don't move, don't shoot. It's really important. If you're a ranged dune and you could choose to just turn to the side. Go ahead and step in. Straight ahead is these inner puppies. Make sure you don't shoot anything at them because you don't want to draw them over here. Okay, stand still, please. Go ahead and get some buffs. Any questions before we get started? Remember, I'm going to be talking us through it. Both teams, all the new folks, you're going to be with High Lords, so just stay with the High Lords. So the West team is Meister, who's going to grab the stones, do the Charming, Turek, and Chakma. That team will go left. The East team will go right, would be Torin, LPR, who's going to grab the stones, Lion Fury, and Herkber, and I'll be the tank. If you look around, look around and see how, like, there's a portal at each end. You're going to be going to you're going to be rounding that, going to the north corner. I'm going to go to the center, grab ZZ, and pull her off into the East Hall. Okay, guys. East-West teams go. So right now, both teams are going to their north corners. You're going to kill the Mind Flare, grab the Soul Stone, then you're going to turn around and go south. And you're going to kill the Mind Flare and grab the Soul Stone, or the Control Stone, in the south corners. And then you're going to, after you do that, you're going to turn back around and go north, and the East team parks at the end of the East Hall. The West team cuts into the center of the zone where ZZ started. And you stay there for the rest of the raid, just guarding, making sure no trash gets there. Just 2 dogs, Meister, please. I'm going to kill off the third one. You can give the dogs buffs, like haste, for example, bull strength. It's really important to watch the dog's health and have somebody monitoring their health and healing them. Meister, go ahead and stay in the center if you've already done any buffs that you can. That's correct, Raider. That's exactly correct. That's why we do this method. Which I'm going to be explaining here as soon as we finish. So normally, you don't want to watch what's going on. That's the big temptation, is to watch what's happening, because people want to watch the tank and the boss. But it's really important that the East and West teams are watching for trash. So like Lion Fury, or Lion R, you want to be all the way out there at the end of the East Hall, and not in the East Hall, because you don't want to draw mobs to you. But if you are new, go ahead and watch. The High Lords will cover trash. So it's okay this time if you're new to watch what's happening. So these charms are timed. I think it's like 2.5 minutes. There were 3 puppies to start with, but we're just charming 2 and 2. We killed off the 3rd dog. If you have really good buffs for the dogs, like Augment Summoning, Druid Past Lives, the whole kit and caboodle, you can just charm all 3 and do it in 1 round. But just thought we'd do it in 2 rounds. And what we're doing is waiting for ZZ to get to a threshold. We already got 1 message when she's down by 1/3 saying like she's starting to take damage. And then once she gets down to 1/3 health, it'll say now like ZZ's vulnerable, it's time to strike or something like that. And once you get that DM message, then it's time for everybody to pounce on ZZ and kill her. So at that point, you would abandon your positions and just everybody attacks ZZ. Are you ready to recharm, Meister? So the Meister is examining the puppies, and he can see how much time is left on their buffs, on their charms. So he's ready to recharm them as soon as they become uncharmed. And he recharmed one as soon as it came off a charm. And he's going to do the second one right now. Good job, Meister. So like I said, buffs are great. Bull Strength, Druid Past Lives, Augment Summoning, Harper Leadership. Anything that can boost their Strength, Con, Primal Scream, Crusade, all these kinds of things are great. Bard Songs.
If it's something like a healing spring to help with the healing a bit.
Yep. Like I said, it's best to have a proper tank to draw ZZ's aggro, because if the tank can't draw ZZ's aggro, then ZZ's attacking your puppies, and then, you know, especially in the heroic instance, ZZ can kill her own puppies really quick. Legendary, they have a lot more hit points, it's not as big of a deal. You can actually have the puppies tank ZZ in Legendary pretty effectively. ZZ is about to blow. Oh, is she ready? Did we get the message? No, not yet. Almost.
Mini beholders are up.
It's funny, I can see her hit points in Legendary, but not in Heroic. There it is. ZZ's wounds are grave. She's whimpers in fear. Now is the time to strike. Everybody on ZZ. Now, didn't that seem like the easiest raid you ever did? There's a couple treasure bags out in the outer ring at the end of the East Hall. Okay, guys, do not recall out. Go ahead and loop, but I want to explain the other methods, and I want to explain, now that you've seen it happen, like why we do this hall tanking method versus the others. So like you saw, the idea was to have ZZ in the middle of the East Hall, and there were only 2 defensive points. We had a center group and an east group, right? And that's it. Now, the H method, or collapse method, and the reason why it's called the H method is just because that's, you form an H pattern when, you know, you're going up to get the control stones and down and then back across to the center. It's just, that's like the shape the party makes. The H or collapse method would start off exactly the same as we did. You'd go to the northwest and northeast corners, you'd turn around, go to the southeast and southwest corners, and then you turn around, go north, and then everybody would collapse in the center, and ZZ would be tanked here right in the center. And then where everybody else would be positioned is, let's see, Meister, come over here where I am.
Sorry, I'm here.
Okay, cool. And then Lion Fear and Hurrick, I want you to come over here where I am. Hurrick, come over here. And stay right here. I'm just setting you up like the way that you'd be. LPR, come over here. And Torin, come over here. And then Turek, come over here. Ideally, you'd have 2 people at each hall. And actually, Chakma, you'd be a little bit further out. So, if you were doing the traditional collapse method, this is how you'd be set up, basically. Is that the tank would be in the center, and there'd be teams at each hall guarding it, making sure that trash mobs don't get to the center. And you'd want to be about 1/3 of the way down the hall. The idea is that you're not so far out that you're aggroing mobs as they're running by, because ideally mobs will just run by the outer ring and they won't even aggro on you. But if you're too far out, they will see you and aggro on you. So you want to be, you know, closer to the center, but not super far out towards the edge, towards the outer ring. And then you just guard those positions while the same thing happens here. The tank, just like I did with ZZ, except I would do it here in the center. The reason why the hall tanking method is superior to this is because now we have 4 defensive points with only 2 people at each one of those points defending them, whereas the hall tanking method, we only had 2 defensive points with larger groups defending them. So it's a more secure method. And there's also less teams to coordinate. It's actually easier to coordinate. And so that's just the difference between the collapse. This is what I'm showing you now is the collapse or H method, And so that's the difference between collapse and H versus hall tanking, is hall tanking has half as many defensive points with bigger groups defending each point. And now I want to explain to you how the circle or O method works. So if you come back to the start of the raid, which is in the south, where I am now, the circle or O method, this is like the pug method. This might be the method that you most commonly see in pugs because it's probably the easiest to coordinate, but it is the least secure. And so the reason why this method is called the circle or O method, yeah, that's what I first learned too. And then when I learned the collapse method, I was like, oh my god, this is so much better. But the collapse method takes more coordination, and that can be hard to do in a pug. So that's why the circle method is typically used in a pug, is because it's easier just to tell people to run in a circle. You know, it's just a lot simpler instructions. So what you would typically have is you would have the tank and possibly like a healer go to the center and grab ZZ's aggro, just like what we already did. And then you would have some people split up into two groups. Some people have like basically everybody go one way and just like have a fast person like a monk go the other way. But the idea is like, so let's see, Meister, where are you at? You ran off. I wanted you to be my example.
I am an example.
Okay, so Meister's running clockwise. And I want everybody else to run counterclockwise. Okay, just follow me. We're just going to sort of mock this up here. So pretend that the tank is in the center now, and there's a healer in there watching the puppies. And so there's one person, Meister, running one way, and everybody else is running the other. And so there'd be a person assigned to grab the control stones as you're moving around. And for the entire raid, other than the tank and the healer that's in the center, this is what everybody else would do, except one person would go into charm. And the idea here is as we're sweeping around the outside, we're aggroing any mobs that are out here. And the reason why you have a person running the opposite way is because they're sort of, that way more of the zone is covered. And they're basically, like Meister would just be dragging mobs to the party, and when the party saw mobs, they would stop and fight them. It's funny, we've got another keeper here. So, since we got a control stone here, I want to just show you, I'll show on the live stream too, if somebody picked it up. Can you pass that to me, Meister? In order to use the control stone, you have to slot it up on your hotbar and then target the puppies and then click on the control stone on your buff bar, and then that will charm them. So here we're just, you know, like LPR, the one person, Meister in this case, like LPR said, he's just dragging trash mobs to the party, and everybody else is just fighting trash as they come to it. Now the problem with this method is that it's the least secure method. Like, as trash mob spawns from these portals, if it spawns like opposite where we are or something, it can go right into the center. And you know, there's just the tank and the healer. Sometimes people have sometimes groups will have people to fight trash mobs if it gets there, but really you don't want trash mobs to get to the center at all costs or anywhere around ZZ. So this is the method that you might see in a pug. It's easy to coordinate, but it is the least secure. Before we exit, does anybody have any questions about any parts of this raid? Any method, O method, collapse method, hall tanking method, any of the mechanics? Because what we're going to do now is we're going to go immediately to the legendary raid and just do exactly what we just did. And there won't be any explanation because the legendary is mechanically identical to the heroic. It's just that the mobs have more hit points. So we'll be doing it exactly the same way. It's also worth mentioning that if the puppies die, they will respawn. If you go to the center of the zone, you'll see there's like a portal floating up there. Puppies will drop out of that. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really sure if it's like timed. You know, if they start pooping out of there every 5 minutes or something. I don't really know. It's never really made sense to me. It almost seems kind of random, but in any event, if the puppies die for some reason, you can get more puppies that get shit out of that portal up there, and they'll just drop in the center. Alright. Go ahead and recall out, turn this one in, and then the entrance to the Legendary Hound of Xoriant is right there. And I think we're just going to do normal because we have a small crew, so if you need to pause your bravery bonus, then go ahead and do that. Hi Raider, welcome. You already know how to do the legendary, I assume. Raider is watching the live stream and he wanted to join us. So turn in the heroic one to Brunaccio Petroclus.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Who are you in a live stream, Raider? Are you Uli or something?
Raider, what's your name on the live stream chat? Or were you not chatting?
I do not have a YouTube chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're happy to have you. Nina Tonant is the raid giver and entrance for Legendary Hound of Xoriant, so we don't have to go through the subterranean to get to Legendary. It's just right here. One of the crappy things about the heroic one is if you fail it, you got to run all the way back out there. But if you fail the Legendary, it's just right here. So like I said, I think we're just going to do normal, just to keep it simple. So if you need to pause your bravery bonus, please do that. And I'm just going to take a minute to bio, and then when I get back, we'll get started. Before we do the legendary, does anybody here have any questions about the raid mechanics, or anybody in the live stream? I meant to mention that earlier to Hurik, who was the first time at the event. We are live streaming this. This is just 19 people watching now. We usually don't have more than about 25 people or so watching. But there are people from other servers that are watching and learning along with us and asking questions in the chat. Okay, it's going to be exactly the same teams, except we've got the addition of Raider X, who's going to be part of the East team. And just talk to Torin. Like I said, just going to do normal to keep it simple. The raid layout, everything is exactly the same as Heroic. Mechanically, everything. It's just mobs have more hit points. Remember to not shoot anything in the center, because that'll draw the mobs over, and we don't want that. Guess I can put on my helm now. One significant difference, though, is that, like I said before, the puppies have a lot more hit points. The puppies can be killed very easily in the heroic instance, especially by today's standards. But the legendary puppies have a ton of hit points. You really have to be negligent to kill them by accident. I mean, it just has to be people just not paying attention whatsoever. You know, and you can, like I said, you could even have the puppies tank ZZ if you didn't have a proper tank. It's just that when you do that, it's harder to position ZZ. You know, like if you want to get ZZ in a certain position, if you don't have an Intima tank to move her around, then, you know, she's just going to be wherever her puppies are. And, you know, and then the other problem is that if you do have the puppies tanking ZZ, then ZZ's attacking the puppies, and the puppies are taking a lot more damage. So if you have somebody healing the puppies, which is fine, then, you know, that's going to be necessary, basically. If you have the puppies tank ZZ, you're going to need to have a healer dedicated to those puppies. One of the other mechanics of this raid that I did not mention is that ZZ has a special attack called Bee Breath, and then when she hits you with it, you get, like, blinded. Your whole screen is going to go white. And you either have to let that time out, or you can use like a globe of invulnerability, and you can like have somebody put up a globe down, and then you can step through that, and that will get rid of the bees. Bee breath is Nicolas Cage's weakness. I didn't know that. Okay, exactly the same teams, except we have the addition of Raider, who's going to be part of the right team. Any questions before we start? Okay, East-West teams go. So you can use like a throwing weapon if the dogs run off, but they don't run off like they used to. They fixed some things with the dogs maybe 6 months ago or so. It used to be the case that dogs would just run off, and they'd run off so quick it was hard to get into range to intimidate them, but you could just use a throwing weapon to hit them because they have so many hit points. You're not going to kill them by accident, but you wouldn't want to do that in the heroic instance, because you start to throw it, you know, you throw a throwing weapon at a heroic puppy and you crit, you could one-shot it.
Curious. These stones are the exact same stones as the heroic one. It went right to my hotbar.
Oh, cool. So I've got my aura off. Now I'm going to turn my aura on for the live stream so you can see, like, on Legendary Hard, a lot of times I'll just keep it on, but on Legendary Normal, like, it's going to take him down pretty quickly. So I'm going to turn my aura back off. We're just going to do 2 and 2 again. Okay, great. Actually, I want everybody to collapse and kill this third dog off. Everybody collapse and help kill this third dog. Go ahead and come to ZZ and kill this other dog, please. Everybody. As soon as that third dog is dead, retake your positions in the center and the end of the East Hall. Go ahead and retake your positions. using a Wand of Bull Strength on him, and I also used Primal Scream. And I believe Meister has the Augment Summoning Necklace from Ravenloft. So there's Augment Summons, and I think he picked up Harper Leadership for this. Did you pick up Harper Leadership, Meister?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not seeing it on the buff bar.
Me either. I think it's the Able.
No, it's not the Able.
Yeah, I got it. Where's the Able from? I don't have no insurance pass.
I think it's from the ship buffs or something like that. I'm not sure. Somebody in the live stream is mentioning that they have solid fog clickies in the bank from the olden days, and so it's probably worth mentioning just for historical value that back in the day the tanks would often have solid fog clickies with them, and they would drop that in the center, and that would grab ZZ's aggro and I guess make it harder for ZZ to hit them too. I don't know what that screeching coming through my speakers is occasionally. That's like the third time it's done it during this live stream. Somebody in the live stream said that it's the Sellsword Tavern that gives hirelings a buff. So apparently it is ship buffs. Doggone Charmed, thank you, Meister. Doggone Charmed, thank you, Meister. And we're just waiting for that message. When ZZ gets down to about 1/3 health, it'll say, you know, it's time to strike, just like before.
Yeah, all I have is the Harper enhancement and the Augment Summoning Necklace from Ravenloft.
There it is, everybody on ZZ. And that is Legendary Hound of Xoriant. Now, another thing is that if, you know, the raid does drag on for some reason, you know, if you had poor buffs and the dogs, you know, buffing the dogs is very, very significant. Because that makes this raid go a lot faster. If we didn't have Augment Summoning and Haste and, you know, Primal Scream and all that stuff, you know, we might not have been able to do it in 2 rounds. And so the way that you get more control stones is that those Mind Flayers, but actually, all the new folks, I want you to come to the east end of the East Hall with me real quick. Because I want to explain one more thing about, you know, with the hall tanking method. Go ahead and come out here, guys, to the end of the East Hall where I am. So if the raid ran long and the initial 4 control stones that you got weren't enough, the east team, from where they're at, from their station here, can look in the southeast and northeast corner to see if there are more Mind Flayers. And when they spawn, you know, they can just, you know, range it down and then have a person go out and grab the control stone. So you can get 2 more from here, is an important point. But the Mind Flayers do eventually respawn and they will drop more control stones. And that is tonight's event. If you have any questions about Heroic or Legendary Hound of Xoriant, please let me know. You can use these Xoriant runes you get from the chest to buy the raid loot. You get 1250 of those and you can buy a raid loot of your choice. raid loot from this raid, and you do that at the raid giver. Yeah, thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us, Raider. Oh, just put the shield up for roll if you don't want it. Okay, guys, I'm going to break. Thanks for coming out. And don't forget to turn it in to Niara. And you guys have a great night. You're welcome. Not sure what next week's teaching raid is going to be, but I'll post it probably Monday. Take care, guys. Okay, folks, watching the live stream, I'm going to shut down the video feed now, but if you have any questions about Hound of Xoriant, I will be monitoring the chat for about another 5 minutes. Happy to answer questions. But I'm shutting the live stream down now.